Okay, time now for a check of the top business news stories. I'm joined by Kate Moody. Hi there, Kate.
Hi, Tom.
Now, let's take a closer look at that 100 billion euro stimulus package unveiled by the French government today. Tell us a little bit more about it, and specifically on that promise to create jobs.
Well, that is the number one priority for Emmanuel Macron's government, and it has been since the beginning of this pandemic, because despite that huge state-sponsored furlough program that was unveiled during the lockdown, 500,000 people lost their jobs in France in the first half of the year. Economists have warned that as government support is scaled back, there could be a huge uptick in job cuts and bankruptcies. The latest forecasts were for 1 million people to be out of work by the end of 2020. Now, to that end, to try and reduce that as much as possible, Prime Minister Jean Castex is funneling over 7.5 billion euros to extend that paid leave or furlough program for businesses that need it. He's also putting nearly 7 billion euros in to help young people get into the workforce.
Notre priorité absolue, c'est l'emploi. Avec ce plan, nous soutenons dès aujourd'hui l'emploi de ces premières victimes de la crise, les jeunes et les demandeurs d'emploi. Nous investissons donc massivement dans la formation pour les métiers et les filières de demain, la transition écologique, l'industrie innovante, le numérique par exemple.
About a third of those overall funds are earmarked for investment in green industry and energy transition, although critics say that state aid companies should require more concrete commitments to reducing pollution. The government insists it's not just about protecting the environment. The program will help boost the economy, protect businesses, and create jobs, too. Fraser Jackson reports.
When Jean Laigle built this house in the 80s, energy conservation wasn't on his list of priorities. But now, with the French government spending billions of euros on an ecological overhaul, he's decided to get a piece of the action and install some insulation.
J'ai des revenus très bas, donc je vais recevoir le maximum de la prime Rénov', c'est-à-dire 18 000 euros.
Jean is one of a vast number of people who can benefit from the state's latest initiative to cut greenhouse gases. Around 5 million homes in France are classed as energy guzzlers, about 17% of all residences. 7 billion euros have now been pledged to make buildings more green. And that's just a fraction of the 30 billion announced in Emmanuel Macron's latest scheme to stimulate the economy.
En fait, ce volet, il soutient la transformation écologique de tous les secteurs qui sont fortement émetteurs de gaz à effet de serre ou le plus fortement émetteur de gaz à effet de serre. Traditionnellement, on identifie 4 secteurs qui sont les transports, les bâtiments, l'énergie et l'industrie et enfin l'agriculture.
Among the new green initiatives, 11 billion euros of the 30 are going to the transport sector, half of which will transform rural railways and freight lines. Money will also go to support public transport and the building of new bike lanes. 9 billion will be spent on decarbonising industry and helping companies clean up their act. The government is hoping to reduce agriculture's reliance on pesticides and increase the amount of locally grown produce. Help will also be given to protect forests from the effects of climate change. The money will be spent over the coming years before the next presidential election in 2022.
Let's check in on the day's trading action now. Losses for the major European indices as manufacturing and economic activity across the Eurozone showed signs of slowing down in August. The CAC 40 fared a bit better than the DAX and FTSE 100, down just under half a percentage point there. Shares of pharmaceutical giants GlaxoSmithKline and Sanofi both dropped sharply, despite their announcement that they would begin human tests of a possible coronavirus vaccine. Wall Street's also sharply reversed course after the rally that had brought stocks to new record highs earlier this week. The tech sector especially hard hit. You can see the Nasdaq down nearly 5 percentage points this hour. The Dow Jones had dropped as much as 850 points earlier in the session as traders take part in a sharp sell-off today. Well, the number of Americans seeking unemployment benefits fell to its lowest level since the start of the coronavirus pandemic last week. 881,000 people filed new claims. That's down from a peak of nearly 7 million in a single week back in March. The number of continuing claims fell sharply to around 13 million. It does remain higher than the worst week of the financial crisis a decade ago, and economists say that the Labour Department has changed the way it counts claims, which could have artificially deflated last week's figures. There are other worrying signs for the U.S. labor market as well. Data on Wednesday showed the private sector had added 428,000 jobs in August. That's half of what had been expected. Airlines are among the employers now warning that they'll be cutting tens of thousands of jobs in the coming weeks. And of course, Tom, while all this is happening, Congress is still at a stalemate over what kind of additional stimulus they're going to approve to help the U.S. economy and again protect workers.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for that. Our business editor, Kate Moody. Thank you.